The schools are that hate-filled that you can't even be with another student outside of school hours on weekends or whatever. Hey guys, it's great to be back with you again. We are keeping the momentum going today with episode 4 of the Fragrant Flower, another reaction, another review, and honestly, it's so funny because I remember saying in episode 2 and in episode 3 that it's starting to heat up, especially with episode 2 and episode 3, it's starting to heat up more and more. But oh my gosh, you probably know, and you've probably watched this episode now. This episode is good. I mean, this episode is really, really good. It's exposing a lot more of this season. But man, when I say this is a slow burn series, this is really starting to heat up. It just feels like we're learning so much more and we're making so much progress getting into this. I just want to point you to the Instagram pages of Sands YouTube and the SandsWay podcast. I'm expecting to be putting more content up there, especially for the Sands YouTube, to update you more with the videos coming out, the dates coming out, and also the times of those videos that are going to be coming out on those specific days, and just news surrounding the channel. Additionally, you're going to want to check out the SandsWay Instagram. That is the SandsWay podcast. But like I said before, more podcasts are coming, more guests are coming, and I've got a lot of good stuff coming out for you guys in the future. So we start with Rintaro wakes up early this morning and he's thinking about the upcoming tutoring session with Kaoruko. And the more I think about this, I think the reason why he woke up early is I don't think he set an alarm because it wasn't at like a specific time. This was like 7:34 or something like that. So it wasn't at a specific time, but I think that he's either been up all night or up during the night thinking about this. We see him, he's reading a text exchange that they had before and said that he was constantly looking over this. This was either probably midway through the week or somewhere towards the end of the week because it's Saturday currently, but he's nervous. He's obviously nervous about what's upcoming and how he's going to see her, especially as she uses a more casual tone with him. This is the first time that the two are going to be alone together at a planned and intentional time, but this is also so significant that this is the first time that she's being more casual with him. Is obviously a very good thing, but it's just funny that it's taken them, you know, roughly 3 weeks or so in order to stop being so overly polite to each other. So I find this really refreshing going into today and seeing how this relationship starts to develop and evolve a little bit now that we've gotten past a more awkward beginning stage and they're not necessarily strangers anymore. They're really starting to have a relationship and, like I said, start a friendship first that will move, whether it slowly moves, which is the slow burn, or if it starts to pick up pace and progress into a full-blown romantic relationship. And this is something that I really love towards the beginning, is you can feel, especially for this anime and especially for the slice of life and more importantly I think the romantic genre, you can feel all the weight in this. You can feel again the emotional depth that he's experiencing. You can feel that he's longing for this moment. I know that this is a tutoring session and we all know that this was stated as a tutoring session, as a study session for him, but I honestly think that he's considering this as sort of like a first date, or he wants to consider this as a first date, or at least something along those lines. And even though we don't see this immediately, I think Kaoruko feels the same. Rintaro starts off his journey into the city by train, and we see on the train these two women comment on his height. And when I saw this for the first time, I was gonna be like, okay, this is just another time where they're gonna bring up about his height and about his appearance and his stature and all of this and that. And I know the writers obviously have a point for this, that they're going to keep referring to it. They don't want the viewer, they don't want us to forget about how he's being viewed, how his appearance is being viewed. And the more I see this, I understand that it's probably going to be a regular occurrence. I know that I was making a big deal about it, especially with the first 2 episodes. And I think I'm so defensive about this because yes, he's tall, and I know that even us, we look at people 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", we're like, oh my gosh, like that person's tall. In our reality, we're not going to act like this. We're not going to act like how this is written. But from the beginning, every time that they've mentioned this, I'm like, okay, he's tall, but just because he's tall, this doesn't just make him some big, weird, scary guy. So I was kind of thinking that they went overboard on this situation, but now that I'm seeing it more and more, I know that this is probably going to be a normal reoccurrence of what's going on. I will say, even if this does occur more in the future, which I bet it probably will, it's not going to have the same effect or weight that it carried from the very beginning. I know that Rintaro didn't hear this directly from them, but I think that as we go further into the season, he's going to start to become more confident, and we're going to hear less of these comments, even if he doesn't hear them. And like I said, when his insecurities start to go away, and whether he's with Kaoruko at that point, or if their relationship, if their friendship is just going well, I think we're going to hear less and less of those comments as the series goes on. He also questions the way that he's dressed, which is in more casual clothes, and also looks out at the scenery of the city and claims that he feels like he's going somewhere new. Something about today feels different, and he feels like he's going to a new place where he hasn't gone before. And I understand this. Something like this can be very jolting and new, especially with love and romance, or something like a first date, or meeting a crush, or simply going for a tutor session with the person that you like, or we know you probably like. This stirs up a lot of anxiousness, and we've all felt this before. We're even uncomfortable in the familiar places we've always been to or we've always been in. And this is another time where I like the weight that we're feeling. I like this sort of style of the writing and the anime itself. I think it really connects very, very well. He ends up arriving early, but Kaoruko is already there. The two then have an awkward moment as they begin to be more casual with each other. And remember, this is probably the second time since the last episode that we see them being more casual to each other. Just like we saw on the phone with Rintaro telling Kaoruko, hey, it's okay, we can be more casual, we can evolve this relationship. This is something they need to work on. We see too that Kaoruko is dressed very nicely. I guess I don't want to say compared to Rintaro, because I know that he's in more casual clothing and we still don't know his exact financial situation. I don't think that he's lower class or like living in poverty. At least I would say he's average or maybe a little below average, but he's in more casual clothes compared to her. Now, this could just be more of a style or fashion sense that Kaoruko wants, but I immediately noticed this and I agree. I think it's more of style and fashion, and just like she admitted last episode, she's not from a rich family. After their short exchange, Rintaro makes the first big comment saying, has she always looked this cute? And this wasn't entirely surprising, but I like this. We're turning up the heat here a little bit. Yes, he could have been attracted to her from the very beginning, but I think he's finally starting to realize that a romantic relationship between the two could be plausible in the future, just from everything that has happened, especially with last episode and episode 2. I think that we're also going to go through a lot of misunderstandings for the next couple episodes, or at least 2 to 3 episodes between them, just because it is a slow burn. But as we've all seen with the progression we've made so far, I don't think a confession might be too far away as we might think. The two begin with lunch before studying, and I really like this moment. I think it was really funny that, again, we see how much Kaoruko loves food, and we see that it's not just pastries and it's not just sweets, but she seems to love all food, or just a lot of different kinds of food. But it just seems like she loves the atmosphere of places as well, for the way that she talks and describes things. And from everything that I've seen so far, it just seems like she's so positive and she's so happy about her life. And the reason why I'm putting so much emphasis on this, and the writers might be putting so much emphasis on this too, she works so hard. We know she doesn't come from a rich family. We know that she doesn't come from wealth. She had to work her way into Kikyo. She cares about her education, and she works very, very hard in order to become the top student in her class. And she's probably unimaginably busy, yet she finds the time to stay positive and enjoy her life in any moment. And I know that we don't know a lot about her family or her parents right now, if she has any siblings or what her parents are like. She could have a very good home life. Like I said again, they're not rich, but they're a happy family. Or I think it might be on the other end, it might be subpar. It might not be abusive, but they don't have a lot of money. She has to have a part-time job because she wants one, or she chooses to have one to pay for school. But regardless of the situation, I just see that she is so positive, and her emotion and personality is so infectious that you can't help but be grateful for your own life. And I think that Rintaro might take from this situation that life isn't that bad, his situation isn't that bad, and I know he's probably feeling super grateful for Kaoruko and how she responded to him and how their friendship and their relationship has started off thus far. With all this being said, I know that Rintaro probably enjoys his life too, but I understand that whether it's the trauma or anxiety or anxious feelings or low self-esteem that he has felt for such a long time, I understand how it could put a damper on things. And we still don't know exactly about his home life or what he has dealt with all in the past. Rintaro and Kaoruko begin studying, and we learn that Rintaro struggles with math. And I don't know if you guys recognize this from the past episodes, but anytime we've seen any of his notebooks, I've noticed that they're math problems. I don't know if that's just me or if anyone else has realized this. And you know what? This hits me because who really is good at math? I don't know exactly what they're taking because it's a little difficult to know what grade they're in too right now, but whether it's algebra or pre-calc or calc 1 or any of the calculuses or trigonometry or anything, even geometry, I struggled with math in my years of high school, and I feel for the guy right now. This sucks. Math sucks. I'm sorry to any of you that have liked math or were like mathletes or super good at math or whatever, but math sucks and has been a killer for so many students again and again. He starts by showing her a problem that he's been struggling with, and she begins to lean in really close to him to view what's going on. And guys, oh my gosh, when I saw this for the first time, yes, this could be looked at as another awkward moment, but I see it as an opportunity for a spark between them. And I know in reality that this has happened to people, or it could happen to people, and we're obviously not going to react the same way as the anime may have, but it's still going to be an awkward moment regardless if we like the person or not. And sure, you could just blush as the moment as an awkward period, but we know that both are at least attracted or have some sort of feelings for each other. I know that I'm probably just basing these off of assumptions and semantics at this point. I think that Kaoruko is more attracted to Rintaro in a romantic sense right now. I think that Rintaro is struggling with this a little bit. I'm not saying that he's not attracted to her, but with all the internal tension and feelings that he's having right now, I don't see him leaping into something immediately. And yeah, awkwardness could take over as well for him, and not that she would leap into anything immediately with him, but I think that she believes that he is a good person because of all the things that they've been through so far. That's gonna make her more willing to do more with him. We've already heard that she wants to learn more about him and that she's not scared of him. So I take that as a good reason that she wants to pursue an actual relationship in the future with him than he does now. Not that he doesn't want to pursue a relationship, but more of, I don't think he knows how to, and if it's appropriate to, because of everything that's happened so far. I really think it's safe to say that this is the moment where he's in love or actually has feelings for Kaoruko. And the reason why I say in love right now is because in our reality, in our time, I feel like a lot of love just stems from attraction. I do believe that he felt attraction in this moment with their faces so close to each other, but I think he's realizing as well that he has true feelings for her. But afterwards, he leans back and he's thinking about everything that has gone on so far, from the very beginning of the day up until this point, and then for the previous episodes as well. It feels like he's just solidifying his feelings for her. Not long after, Kaoruko asks Rintaro why he didn't want to fail the midterm, for this one time only, just like how he described it to her in the previous episode. This is another moment that I really love and I think points to the direction where we're going towards. Like she's more comfortable asking him more personal questions. It was already bold enough for Rintaro to share this with her in the previous episode, but she brings it back up now in such a caring and non-judgmental way. This moment just really stuck out to me because I see this as a moment of her caring deeper for him and genuinely wanting to know more about him. He really was bold when he shared this with her, and this was all stemming from him wanting to be more open with her because she was always open with him and she's always responded in a compassionate way. I also looked at it as how a teacher would look at a student and want to know their goal, want to know why they want to do well, and how they use this as a motivator of wanting to do well. Nonetheless, Rintaro is honest with her and tells her that he wants to be involved with his friends at the sports festival because, as we all know, if you failed the midterm, you're not able to compete with the others and you have to retake the exam. And not shocking at all, Kaoruko reassures him on his goal. And I'm not saying this is a bad reason for him because I respect his decision, but it's not like you want to do well to possibly go on to college or join a trade or be useful to society or something like that. No, it's for the sports festival. This brings me to another moment that, from everything that I've seen this episode, and I'm not trying to be mean to him or anything, but Kaoruko seems so nice, so genuine, so intelligent, so socially aware and polite. Why on earth would she realistically want to be with Rintaro? The reason I say this is, yes, he has a good personality, and that's very important. That's very important. I understand he has good morals, he has good characteristics, whether it's with trauma or insecurity, I don't know, anxiety or anxiousness, I'm not sure, but he's not a great student. He's really not a great student. And it seems like he lacks ambition for school and even his future. Now I know we might not be pointed towards this yet. We might not be exposed to this yet about what they want to do for their futures, if they're pursuing college, if they're pursuing anything else. I understand though, and especially in high school, even if you're a senior, like not knowing if they're seniors or not, whether you're 15 or 18, you don't have to have your life figured out in that very moment. But usually everybody has a hobby or something they're interested in or passionate about that they want to pursue. I've been really excited to bring this up because I think we've seen this a lot through the past episodes as well. But this is another reason why I think women are so important in men's lives, and kind women especially. I don't want to just say kind women because I don't want to generalize anybody, but I'm saying kind people. Kind men are good for women and kind women are good for men. But specifically in this moment, kind women are so important, and just women in general are so important to men. They can be so helpful and such a crucial part for them. A lot of the stuff that we see is women are very encouraging to men in certain genres, in certain series. I see women in a lot of these shows, in a lot of anime and a lot of animation, a lot of the things that I watch specifically. The women are always so inspiring and encouraging to the guys that they're interested in or the people that they interact with. And I know this is something that I can't say for all women. I can't say for this for all people. I can't generalize, like I've said again and again. I guess it's more of a good quality that Kaoruko has that I really admire. But like I said again, I'm going to stand on it partially that a lot of what I watch and the women that are involved in there, they are so crucial in the story and so helpful to the man in that moment. Women also have a sense of compassion and love that a lot of men don't have or don't show. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I just think that's how we're different as people. Because of how Rintaro brings up his friends and how he wants to be with them, she asks, does he like his friends? Obviously, yes. Rintaro says yes, he likes his friends, and Kaoruko agrees, but she also uses this to bring up Subaru. And I think her intentions were good with this, that she wanted to brings Subaru up to tell Rintaro that she's actually a kind person and that she's had a troubled past with boys, which I think is all believable. She says that she's misunderstood, but that doesn't stop her from being a kind person. Let's be clear though, she's making Subaru seem like a very good person right now, and I'm not saying that she's lying, but I'm not really sure about Subaru and her intentions. I don't want to say she's a mentally unstable person at this time, but I'm sort of shifting on how I feel about her and Kaoruko's relationship. Something to me just doesn't feel right. To end the topic, she thanks Rintaro for not judging her at first, which I understand, and yes, I'm glad that he didn't, because again, with the assumptions that have gone against him in the past, he should be a better person. I don't think that he did judge her in that moment, but we don't know for sure, and we don't know his thoughts previously except for now. And the way that he reacted to Kaoruko saying all of that, I don't think he was judging. I think he was just overall confused about the situation. When they get back to studying for the last time, Rintaro explains that he finally feels happy now. I don't know if he's being dramatic, because I think that there's been some moments where he has been dramatic at times, but this might be signaling to where or how long he's been lost. Has he only truly been happy with Kaoruko, or has he had happy moments in his past with his friends, or has he been depressed or had a sad look for a while now? A little difficult to determine right now just because of how we jumped into the series immediately, but I think he's been feeling this type of way for a while. The two finish up studying in the evening, and this surprised me so much. When Rintaro was leaving and getting ready for his train, Kaoruko hands him her notebook that has all the notes that she recorded for him. This was just so kind and on a next level. But this is just really beautiful. I mean, gosh, I can't understand it, why she is so kind and why she is so nice. I know that she likes him. I know that she wants to be friends with him, wants to pursue probably a relationship with him, but she's so unselfish towards him. Even when she's so busy and she's got her own things going on, she cares so much about him. And oh my gosh, something has to spoil this situation as Rintaro leaves. Subaru appears out of nowhere, grabs him, and tells him that she wants to talk to him about something. The two go to a cafe, and Rintaro is really nervous about what's happening, and I can't even blame him. Our previous episode, this is the first time that we've seen Subaru, and the way that she acted then, he was probably thinking it was gonna mirror the same situation. She immediately asks if he's her boyfriend, and dang, why would you ask something like that? Why would you be so forward like that? Gosh darn it, I was just speechless when I was watching this, and I was grappling like with what all was happening. How you have a question like that come out of nowhere. You had to have been spying on them or doing something invasive during the day. How would you immediately be there right after their study session? Kaoruko is probably 20 or 25 feet around the corner and you show up. Hearing this, Rintaro spills his drink, but she offers a napkin to him. Guys, at this point, I'm completely off guard. I'm confused. I have no idea what's going on. It's almost like bipolar in a way, even though I know that's probably not what it is. But how are you so rude at one situation? Like, I know it's not in the same day, but how are you so rude in one situation and now you're offering something to him? He then realizes that was her last name that the Kikyo girls were referencing. It must have been episode 2 with the argument or the fight at the gate, that was her, and they were talking about Subaru. And the way that the girls were talking about it, I was thinking, how much influence does she actually have over the school? I mean, dang! She then asks if they're friends, and Rintaro doesn't really know how to respond to this, but he does admit that they've met recently. I'm not sure which way she took this, but she then explains that she was disrespectful to him and his friends in the school and apologizes for it. And finally, it makes sense. She's grappling with this because she doesn't want people to see Kaoruko with a Chidori student because it could be at risk to her scholarship. And while I understand this, and I understand like how that could come into play, this is such an extreme take, not necessarily by Subaru, because she's the one who probably knows, but dang, the schools are that hate-filled that you can't even be with another student outside of school hours on weekends or whatever. So pretty much She's scared of Kaoruko facing disciplinary measures because of her, I guess, her thinking of a reckless stance with Rintaro. I sort of have a feeling that she knows that they like each other, or at least that Rintaro likes her. I think she's also confused about the reason why Rintaro wants to be friends with Kaoruko in the first place. Back in the previous episode in the library, there's only so much that Kaoruko told Subaru. She probably didn't tell her the whole story of how they met or how their relationship has developed throughout the coming weeks. She's scared because she doesn't want anything to happen to Kaoruko because of all the work that she's put in to get into Kikyo and be at the rank that she is. And I know that she's just trying to protect her, but either Kaoruko is naive and she doesn't know, she doesn't care or whatever, or she knows what she's facing and she's not very bothered by it. I don't believe that Kaoruko is naive about anything. I think she knows her surroundings and I think she's aware about things going on, but I will give Subaru some sort of partial credit because we can't assume that Kaoruko has been at Kikyo for all this time. I have a feeling that Subaru knows more about the school and knows more about what's going on than anybody else, or at least Kaoruko. Yes, she does confirm that Kikyo faculty hates Chidori students more than the students. I think it proves my point is a little more plausible that there is this elite class or elite society, or at least some sort of very strong influence coming from Kikyo. Because as soon as she said that the faculty are this hate-filled with Chidori, there's gotta be something more going on. What if a faculty member, or at least a high-ranking person, maybe in the administration of Kikyo, is Subaru's mom or dad, or, you know, a parent, or has some sort of control like that over the Kikyo High School or influence? The conversation is then interrupted by a fall by a child. And again, surprisingly, Subaru helps him, even though he's a boy, even though he's a male, but she still helps him. But then the little boy makes a positive comment about her hair, just like Rintaro did in the previous episode. This then brings her back into an emotional moment, and when that moment passes, she tells Rintaro that's what Kaoruko did for her when she was young about her hair. And dang guys, if you saw, this goes deep. Yes, kids can be jerks, and the boys were bullying her about her hair color. And the more that I saw it, I'm like, if anything, why weren't they bullying her about her hair length? Not that this is a good thing at all, but wouldn't it make more sense to bully her about her hair length than her hair color? Kaoruko ends up standing up for her in that situation, reassuring her about her hair. I understand that it probably had a very large impact on her, but I think it's gotten to the point throughout these years that I don't know if I want to say she's taken this too seriously, or if she wasn't exposing the full trauma of what had happened. But she allows something like this to just like completely take over her. And it makes me think that if she loses Kaoruko to something, or in this situation, if she loses her from the school, if she gets expelled or some other disciplinary measures come through, she's not going to be able to function in school or even possibly society anymore. I hope other people feel like this, feel like how I do, but this is just so weird and so extreme that there is such a problem here. She breaks down and is basically in a state of panic and fear. She claims that she's taken too much from Kaoruko and that nobody understands what she has gone through to get into Kikyo. She ends with explaining that, at the very least, she wants Rintaro not to see her anymore. Even if this means Kaoruko hates her, she wants to protect her happiness. There are so many problems with this, and this is just so weird. Rintaro goes back into a sequence of flashbacks from each of his friends and each of the Kikyo students and each of the moments that are arguing for both sides. But at the very end, he sees that moment that both him and Kaoruko were at the gate, and she explains that the schools do not define who they are. It was about the person and it was about them. So he ends up declining and says, I can't do that. Guys, the audacity that Subaru has is crazy. I know that she's a friend of hers and I know that she's basically her best friend, but you can't just dictate somebody else's life because you're afraid for them or you're scared of losing them. It's so disrespectful to go behind somebody's back, especially as sweet of a person as Kaoruko, to try to separate her from someone that she really likes. I know that Subaru probably knows about the school system, like I said, much more than Kaoruko and a lot more than other people. But anybody can clearly see that she's using this selfishly too. Rintaro gets on the train to leave for home. And I like this. The same two young girls that were at the library with him during that day last episode are on the train this time. A similar situation happens. He gives up his seat for them to sit. But unlike last time, they go up to him and apologize about not thanking him previously at the library and then thank him again. But again, I see this as another reassurance that, hey, people don't always see you like this. We then shift over to the next week and the boys have already taken their exams and now are waiting for the results. Guys, if you didn't laugh and just have a sort of reaction like I did when I saw this, and confusion that I had when I saw this, oh my gosh. And basically, Shohei gets a 30% and Rintaro gets a 59%. I've got to tell you, I screamed when I saw this. I paused the episode and I was angry and I was confused, and I wasn't really angry, but I was like, oh my gosh, why did they worry this whole time? They had this built up so much for like the past 2 weeks or the past 3 weeks that this was the biggest midterm, and like it was super hard, it was super difficult, like nobody passes this. And worst of all, I thought they studied. They spent so much time with Saku. He spent that one session with Kaoruko. She gave him all those notes. She helped him so much. And these two idiots were only good enough to get a 30% and a 59. I mean, this school literally has no standards. And they hyped it up like passing was so important. Now, I will say that I did a little bit of poking around in this moment while I was watching the episode, and I saw that from what the writers saw, Chidori, for it being a third-tier high school, they're not going to make the standards as high as other high schools, so they're going to be much lower. But do you know what I would have done if I was still in high school and a 30 allowed me to pass? I would have had so many times where papers or exams that I could have passed on the very bare minimum. Gosh, this was so funny, but so frustrating to see, because how are these guys gonna make it in the world? Like, what are they gonna contribute to society? The boys then give a lot of love to Saku because he's essentially the MVP for helping them enough, which I think Kaoruko actually helped Rintaro more with studying. But Saku did a bit. Saku did a lot for Shohei too, but they said he was pretty much the MVP for them, helping them get a high enough score in order to go to the sports festival. And I like Saku's reaction because he doesn't want any part of this. As we end the episode, the boys end up teasing Saku enough that he falls over and knocks over a desk, but it was Rintaro stuff, and he ends up exposing the notebook that she gave to him, and it just ends right there. So I don't know if they necessarily knew that it was her, but I'll tell you what, this is another great setup for episode 5. This episode was packed with so much. We ended up learning more about Subaru, which I was really happy with, but we definitely know now that she has a problem with boys. She has a problem with Chidori, but we see that there is hatred, especially from the faculty at Kikyo. So whether that has any influence outside of the school, I'm not sure. We also learned about how low the standards are at Chidori and how none of these students are probably going to have jobs. And I'm really excited for episode 5. I don't think we're going to get a ton of information with the next one pertaining specifically to Kikyo and that sort of influence and everything around that. But we might see the boys at Chidori and the friend group respond to this notebook and respond to this situation that surrounds Rintaro and Kaoruko. Like always, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How did you feel about the episode? Did you think that this was going to happen? Do you have any theories, any thoughts, any perspectives that could expand on this episode or past this episode? What do you think that this is going to mean for the remainder of the season? And how are you liking it so far? With that being said, we are on our way to episode 5. Thank you guys again. Really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.